And welcome into In-Game Chats for Saturday, April the 26th, 2025. It is Season 19, Episode 14. And I'm Scott.
And I'm RJ.
Welcome into the show, everybody. Dave is... I think Dave's listening again. He sent me... Is he listening again there, Davey? He asked if we were on today. He said, yeah, have a great show. He did not mention that he'd be listening live. He may not be able to. I don't know. But, hey, Dave. Dave got a new dog. They got a new dog for their house. He's doing a whole... Huh?
I'm about to say little pup or an adult.
Kind of mid in between, not enough that it's I think house trained. It's a rescue.
Okay.
So yeah. And I think he's a pit bull. They already have another type of pit bull, and then they have a cat. So yeah, now they have another dog. So he's probably sending me a text. Yeah, he is listening live. Okay, well, we'll get the correction there on the type of dog that he's got there, and the age maybe as well here shortly. Regardless, Dave was here, he'd be on the show with us. Let me do this real quick before we get started. For those who are watching on cam, and for me later whenever I have to edit the video. For everybody else on the radio, that was just an annoying thing. For everyone else, that was just an annoying thing. So welcome to the show. If you want to get in touch with us, hit us up on Discord, send us an email, send me a Twitter. Those of you who have hit me up on Messenger can hit me up on Messenger. Earlier this week, I say earlier this week, well, you know what, we'll get into that. But I had some local listeners here help me out on one of the days this morning words are tough today. In relation to the Switch 2 pre-order situation. So, that was really because I made mention on the air earlier this week that, hey, this is something I'm going to talk about, so if any of you can help me out. And they did, and I appreciate it. So I will mention that when we get to the pre-order part of the episode, which is mainly the reason that we're doing an episode today. I was considering not doing an episode today. And I didn't consider that today. I considered it earlier in the week. Like last week's show, I was considering maybe because I hadn't taken the a weekend off in April yet. And then I said, we got Oblivion coming out. We got Switch 2 pre-orders. Let's just do a show. This morning I said, man, I really wish I had done a replay on this show. So I think we're going to take next week off. I think we're going to be done next week. Okay. We'll call next week a replay and then come back. I don't normally do 2 replays in a month, but I will for May. We'll do it next week, and then we'll also do it for the Memorial Day weekend, of course. Excuse me. But anyway, welcome into the show. You can find us on Discord. You can find us at ingamechat.net, where you can go to that website, go all the way to the bottom. You'll find our Twitch channel, twitch.tv, and then you can go there, search for In-Game Chat and find us, or click on the link at our website. You can also hit us up on Discord as well if you would like to do that as well. And we got people watching on Twitch already. Bama Brian is there. So, yeah. He says a few people who have made pre-orders are getting their orders canceled. We'll talk about that. So far, people that I know who have put in their pre-orders, everything has gone quite smooth for them. And I even read a tweet from Wario here, who I follow, saying that people are still, in certain parts of the country, still able to get in pre-orders through Walmart. But there's a possibility that, you might get a cancellation order. There's a lot to talk about, and we'll get to that.
Yeah. So I was about to ask you, are they canceling their orders, or are their orders getting canceled without their...
No, they were getting canceled.
They were getting canceled.
Yeah, in other words, they were going through the process of putting in the order, and then, the inventory bot or whatever is like, we did too many. Send emails out to these people and tell them that we have to cancel their order because for whatever reason we didn't pull it fast enough or something like that. I have no idea how. I don't want to be a person that has to handle website traffic for stuff like this. Pre-orders for your console systems, no.
The hot item of the year. That's always something like
right,
that.
Man. I don't want to. I don't want to be that guy.
Remember the days when Beanie Babies consoles and things like that.
I remember Beanie Babies.
Yeah.
I was not a Beanie Baby person, and I don't know many people who were. I'm sure there were people who were, but I did not know any of them. I only remember seeing them in the back of people's cars by the hundreds.
Yeah, well, the point I'm trying to make is that it was the hot item, and everyone was like rushing out the door to get them.
Yeah.
Before the, doing anything they could to get them, and the same thing applies here with that Switch.
Cabbage Patch, the next generation.
Yeah,
is what that was. But the Switch 2 thing, we're going to get into that. We'll get into the pre-order situation with the Switch 2 here as we go into news. But the first thing we're going to go into is what have we been playing, RJ? What'd you do?
Well, I tried another run at Balatro again. It failed again, but like we've always done before.
That's Balatro.
Yeah, that's Balatro. You're going to fail 100
times,
play it. And that's how you eventually I'll get to it. I almost was. I think the closest I ever got was the last time I played before this week. But like I said, it's a fun game to keep playing and trying to get that deck cleared out. A little bit more Virtua Fighter 5, playing in the league over the weekend. I did get to play some of the Division 2, a little bit more of that. Still trying to get back into the swing of things.
Trying to get your muscle memory back on your controller and everything else. Yeah,
because I got 4 characters to play with on that thing.
Because it's been a minute, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. But for the most part, really, it's been back to the First Ascendant. I think I mentioned last week about how playing as long as I have, all the materials I've built up with the game, and I'm unknowingly had a whole bunch of materials needed to build other characters to add to my roster. So I've added 2 more to the list, and the only thing that really is annoying about that is that I have to wait 18 hours to build the 4 parts needed to build the character as a whole.
Yeah,
and then when I actually get those parts together, I have to wait a literal day and a half on the server to get the character unlocked, unless you want to pay a small fee and get that thing unlocked earlier.
Oh, okay.
But with all the stuff that I can do in this game, I can
don't pay.
I can let that go by. By the time I realize it, it's already ready.
Exactly.
Yes. Roster. Yeah.
That's the best part. You play through it and you're like, oh, there it is. Boy, I'm glad I didn't spend whatever the money was to do that, because that was totally not worth paying that money, because look how fast it took me to not care, and there it is.
Yeah. Days of grinding for other stuff, and you'll get that thing in no time. But if you don't think about it, it'll be here before you even know it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's pretty much all I've been playing this week.
Wow, okay. For me, I put in more time with Avowed, and last Sunday I got to the end of... I say the end. I got to the point in the area that I was in where it's like, okay, you've gotten everything. I say you've gotten everything, but you've advanced the main storyline enough that now you're going to be moving on into the next area. And so I did a quick run around the map, making sure I was getting everything, trying to unlock. I say unlock, but like when you look at the map, it's all kind of in a beige form, sort of like a map would be, just beige. And then as your character goes through that area, it opens up on the map so you can, and the places fill in on the map. Yeah. In other words, so I'm looking for those areas of like, how much of this stuff is still unrevealed? Let me go around and make sure that I've got stuff done. Even to the point that I pulled up a finished map of the area, because I saw a bunch of extra space. But when I would go over there, I'm like, I don't think I can move beyond this point. So I opened up a map, and sure enough, looking at how their borders were compared to mine, I was like, wow, okay, I'm good. There were chunks in the middle, but the borders, man, I was good. I had the borders covered, which is a great way to do maps like this. Yeah, it's kind of like when you're doing puzzles. What do you do first? You do the edges, the corners,
the outside edges. Yeah,
yeah, and
easy to discover the flat edges. So you just make all that on the outside,
right? Yeah. And so you do the same thing in maps like this. You go as far as you can anyway to try and fill that map out and go through. So I found in this second area, I found all the stuff that I needed to, all the camps that you can find, all the fast travel beacons you can find. Any other stuff that they've got there, just made sure the map had been filled out, which it had, with the exception, I think, of 2 things. There was a fast travel beacon, and there was another part of the area that they call it Strangled Adra, which is Adra are these, or Adra, or whatever it's called, Adra. They're these big gem pillar-looking things. They look like what's the blue gem?
Sapphire?
Is that what that is? I thought sapphire was red's ruby.
Red's ruby, green is emerald, blue is sapphire,
Okay.
clear is diamond.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're kind of a light sapphire color.
Okay.
And so, anyway, there's these big, and that's where your party does camps. But then there's other places where it's called Strangled, and you have to do a thing. You have to interact with it, and you get some story from your character that unlocks the piece of Adra for that area, and then it's fine. You're done. So I moved on. I stopped there last weekend, and then this morning I had some time, and I fired up Avowed because I thought, okay, let me do some dialogue and move into this next area, because usually at the end of an area and the beginning of an area, there's a lot of dialogue between your partners, your party members, and the people that you run into. It's all so you can close out the story of the area you were in, and so you can begin the story of the area that you're going into. And so this morning I fired up Avowed, and I did that. I did all of that, got into the new area, and I was like, okay, I'm good. I'll do a whole lot more of this tomorrow. So I've put in, I really should check it out, but I put in a lot of time with Avowed, and this is the third area, I think, out of 4 or 5 areas that you can go into. So yeah, I got a lot more to do, and these maps are big. So,
But since you like exploring, it's going to take longer than...
it is, and I have to, well, there's a thing in our news, but my God, if you're a Game Pass member, especially on PC, actually, I guess PC or console if you want to, but if you're a Game Pass member and have access to that, you are eating good as of late. They added Avowed. They added this puzzle game that I'm a fan of. Well, I'm not a fan of it. Haven't played it, but I'm interested in it, called Blueprints. There's that on there. There is what is it? Expedition 33, I think. Yeah, Expedition 33 is on Game Pass, and it is doing fantastic. I want to say is it a JRPG, or it has Thar 6 has played it. Or it has aspects of JRPG or something like that. Anyway, that's out there for you. Oblivion 4 or Oblivion Remaster is now out there on Game Pass for you to enjoy. It's the value here is amazing with what you can do. And Avowed is you got Doom, the Dark Ages coming up next month, which will be on Game Pass. But the value here is fantastic. That's just for those titles. But do you you understand it, RJ? But do you understand the content within that is just tons. Avowed is going to get you months of gaming. Oblivion Remaster is going to get you months and months and months of gaming. Just a ton. Expedition 33 is probably going to do the same thing, because he says it is similar to a JRPG.
Turn-based combat fantasy JRPG.
Yeah. There's tons of content in that as well. I mean, I am floored by what Avowed has done. Avowed is just... There's just so much in it. Dialogue, written pieces, just the lore you could fit into a novel. And honestly, I wish they would. I would actually be more... and it's kind of like what Destiny used to do, and I hate to relate that to that, but it's the best way I can do it, where they took all of their lore and they put them in collections for you to order. If Avowed could do something like that, take all of these letters that I stumble upon, take all of these books that I stumble upon, all of this stuff that goes into the backstory, the lore, and everything else, and could arrange them in a book of some sort, I'd get that book, and I would read it. You know, I know I can read it in game, but it's a little bit different to be able to just kind of sit down and read it in a book without looking at your screen and everything. But it's just so much content, man. So much content. So, so Avowed, a little bit of Assassin's Creed. I finished up House of Da Vinci 3. Yeah, I got through that last weekend as well, finished that. They have House of Tesla due out sometime this year, which will be their next trilogy that they'll do. I say trilogy, it'll be their next series. I don't know how many of them they plan on doing, but yeah, that's a nice little puzzle game to play. Like I said, played Avowed, played Snap, and I think that's mostly Assassin's Creed. Like I said, Assassin's Creed Mirage is what I played. So I think that's mostly everything that I dived into. I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So, and I'm happy with that. I haven't touched Mirage yet this week. I may do some of that tomorrow, but obviously Avowed's on the list to just continue that. So far, it hasn't gotten old. It felt like it was getting old in this last area that I was in, but now that I've moved into a new area, it's like, okay, let me explore this and see what it has to offer. You know, it's renewed. The interest is renewed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and I'm really looking forward to kind of putting a cap on Avowed whenever it gets around to it. I'm okay as it is right now, but I know I'm going to get to a point where it's like I'm kind of ready to put a bow on this thing, you know? It's great to explore. It's great to go around and find all these different quests and this lore and all this stuff. But eventually I would like to see what happens with my story here, you know? And for the fact that while you can get lost in doing so much stuff, there's good and bad to that, I think. Because depending on how the developers incentivize you, you can kind of lose the thread of your main story doing all of these side quests. The side quests last, you know, for a very short time. You know, help these farmers find their tools, bring this thing back to this guy where it was stolen, or whatever the case may be. You know, it's like, oh, that's a little story within itself. But the main the mainline story quest can get lost in the shuffle a little bit, because you can get there and do a lot of stuff, and then if you take a lot of time doing your side quest, it's like, where was I in this story? You know,
that happened to me in Fallout a lot. But then Fallout had a lot of interesting stories going on along with the main one. And these things, while you say yours are in Avowed are very short, don't take long at all, the ones in Fallout, I mean, the ones I played had some long, drawn out things that was going on that really could take you away from the story, because you were so interested in that.
Yeah, I would say one of the things that has carried over that I only noticed it because I went into this new land are my companion quests. In other words, my companions have storylines that you that you sort of flesh out as you go, and those are kind of woven within your, not necessarily your main story, but those have like a side story that goes longer than a little side quest would do. Yeah. So that's been nice. So far, it's only been one of my party members though. I haven't really gotten any kind of a story quest for any of the other people that I've picked up. No, well, let's see. Thar6 says, do you have all four now? I have, it's me and 3 other members. I have the Animancer. I have the Kai, K-A-I. I have him. He's the first guy you get whenever you start the game, really. And then I have, oh God, what is his name? Just the short little guy that's with me. I can't remember what his name is. So yeah, I just got to my 3rd area, Thar. The Shatterscape, Shatter something. Anyway, that's where I'm at. Where the area of where the Thirdborn area.
Marius.
Yes, that's
Marius.
him. That's him. So yeah, I need one more, and then that'll be it. Hey, Thar, I would like to ask you: is it always just me and 2 party members, or is it ever me and my whole group that can go out and do stuff? Because so far it has been just me and 2 others. I got to leave somebody back at camp if I want to go and explore. I was just curious if it ever, at any point, lets me take all of them. Nope, just 3. Okay. Me and 2 others, I guess, is what you mean by that. So, all right. That's okay, sort of. I just understood that you would get dialogue options, different dialogue options, depending on who you take with you. Mm-hmm. For many of the side quests, much less the main quest itself. So, I was just kind of, didn't know who was going to offer the better story. I always take Kai, though. Mm-hmm. I never leave him behind. I always take him. He was my first party member from the beginning of the game. He is also, I would say, the best voiced, but he is Did you ever play Mass Effect?
No.
Okay.
But I heard enough about it to be familiar with some of the characters and how much.
Yeah, he is. I believe he's voiced by the same guy that voiced. Is it Gareth? Gareth?
The tank dude?
No, the alien sharpshooter guy.
Blue or brown?
Blue.
Blue. Okay. Okay, I think I know who you're talking about.
You would if you Googled him.
Yeah.
Blue sharpshooter Mass Effect character, and you would find it.
I think the video I saw was one where he swept a room with just a handgun and took out the entire group of.
Probably.
Gareth.
Okay. More than likely, yeah. I think it was Gareth. Yeah. I think that was his name.
Moving faster than everybody else.
Oh yeah.
He could react,
yes.
He took out.
Yeah,
that guy. Okay.
That was him. He's voiced by the same guy, and for whatever reason, it's. I guess because it's familiar. It's one of those things where it's like, I like you. You remind me of other games that I've played, and so I'm just going to go along with you on this venture into the unknown. So a little bit of familiarity there. Garrus, that's what it was. It was Garrus.
Garrus, okay.
Yeah, thank you. Gareth is, he's that action director, I believe. Gareth Evans, I think, or Edward. I don't know. Anyway. So yeah, that's what I played, and now we're at the bottom of the hour here. So we are going to take a break. When we come back, we'll jump into some new stuff, and I think we'll save the Switch 2 talk for the top of the hour, as we always do. But we'll come back with more news right after this. We're going into a commercial here. The music this week is from more modern. It's last year. It's not the retro stuff. So this is the main title for a game called It's either called Wildermyth or Wildermyth. And I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but this is the main title for that. We'll be back with more of In-Game Chat right after this. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. This is music from Super Mario Party Jamboree for the Nintendo Switch. All right, let's jump into the news for the past week. I mean, obviously the big one was, I say the big one would be the Nintendo Switch 2 pre-orders, but the big one that we knew was coming was the Oblivion remaster. This is the Elder Scrolls 4, right? Yeah. 4 was Oblivion, 5 was Skyrim, and now we're waiting for 6. But yeah, we got the Oblivion remastered. It was I say it was hinted at. I don't even know if you want to call it leaked, man. Screenshots got out. The Xbox support Twitter account said, yeah, it's coming out this date, and they labeled the date. Then they announced the sort of 20-minute looking direct video that they would do prior to announcing the release. So, yeah. We kind of knew it was happening. And it was not really a secret. So, but yeah, we got Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered is out now. You can, if you've got Game Pass, it's available for you there, whether it be on console or PC. But you can also buy it for like Steam and the other places as well if you need to buy it. But yeah, it's a complete port. And man, watching some screens of this thing. Now you're going from a game that was out in 2008. I don't remember. I don't know why I don't remember, but I don't remember. Can you look on the? You checking that for me?
No, I'm looking it up. When was it released?
The original, yeah.
March 2006.
Even further back. So yeah, you're going way back on this, and so the screens look fantastic, as they should, by comparison. Unfortunately, what I'm reading about, especially if you look at Digital Foundry, these are the guys who do some really deep dives into the technical aspects of these games. And when I mean technical aspects, I'm talking about your visuals, not your gameplay mechanics, but your visuals, your fidelities, your ray tracing, your all this stuff that goes into this thing. They really pick it apart and have said that it looks beautiful, but it runs horrible. I haven't given it a shot to test that out, but they say it's one of the most horribly optimized games that they've seen in a very long while. Let's see if I can find. Here's Digital Foundry. Eurogamer has Digital Foundry. Dire performance problems is what it says here. This is the write-up.
The official one, not the fan-made.
No, this is the official one. Yeah, the official one. It says, let's see, the concept is nothing new. We've seen it work out and beautifully like Shadow of the Colossus' remake. We've seen it work less than optimally in something like the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition that they had problems with. Bethesda Game Studios collaboration works in the context of delivering a fully modernized take on the classic original, but problems from the original game persist into the remaster, while performance overall has massive, highly distracting problems. You may be fine with that if you're okay with the jank historically connected to Bethesda games, but we are not. So they talk about it and go into it being just one of the worst as far as the performance. And there's a whole write-up here, so I'm not going to go into that. They did say a new patch landed for the PC version of the game, meaning we had to check our data for changes. This presented more of a challenge than expected, as on the Game Pass version used for testing, upscaling options disappeared. Same stuttering issues persisted. Until Bethesda addresses the foundational CPU-based problems in this port, there is no route to what we would class as acceptable performance for a modern PC game. But it did very well. It went past 120,000 concurrent players on Steam only a few hours after it launched. And I also believe it got 4 million... Was it 4 million players? It passed the 4 million player milestone or something like that, I believe. But yeah, apparently it's a little bit... Yeah. AC Rit says they supposedly made third person much better, so I can actually play. I don't know. I haven't looked at it. I've been interested in it. I tried Oblivion back when it released on the Xbox. So Xbox 360 gets released, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's brand new console. You said Oblivion was 2006?
Yeah.
All right. Xbox 360 came out 2005.
Mm-hmm.
November of 2005 is when the 360 released. And then you said that was 2006.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know the month, but I think it was sometime in the summer, I believe.
Or Oblivion?
Yeah.
That says March 20th, 2006.
Okay, March of... So it wasn't far.
Yeah.
It was only a few months after release. Back then, oddly enough, when there was going to be a release on your brand new system, it was only like, hey, it was a big deal when a new game was getting released on the system. I remember early on in that system, you had Dead Rising was being pitched as like, ooh, you got to get this because look at all the zombies that are on the screen. Cameo was another good one. That was a launch title. There was Fight Night.
Yeah.
Which just blew me away for 2005, a 2005 system with the way those characters looked, the way those boxers looked in the ring. I haven't gone back to it, so I don't know if it still holds up now, but back then it looked really good.
Last one I played when I blew the dust off the PS3 was Fight Night Champion.
Yeah.
I played that with a bit. Yeah, still holds up, looks good, and it's still entertaining to me.
Yeah. So anytime a game was going to get released, it was a big deal on the 360. It was because it was just like you don't have much to pick from, and here's the new release for this month or in the next few months. It wasn't like what we have now, which is very odd, considering how did we get to this point, obviously. But yeah, Oblivion was like the talk about thing. It's like, oh my God, we're getting the new Elder Scrolls. I was not familiar with any of it. I didn't play Morrowind. I didn't know, none of that made any sense to me whatsoever. Then Oblivion comes out, and it's like, okay, fine, I'll jump in and play this, sure. I did not make it out of the dungeon, which is where you start. You start in this prison underground, the castle or whatever, and I just could not make it out of there. I was getting lost. I didn't know. It was not sticking for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I never made it out of there and probably returned the game or just never played the game again. Never got back into it. I know tons of people who were like, "It was great." They loved it, and they were just, that's all. They were just, anytime you would talk to anybody else who had a 360, they would always ask about Oblivion. It's like, yeah, I tried to play it, didn't like it. But then they would tell me about their experience of like, oh, I did this and this. Kind of like when people talk about Fallout. Like, did you get to this part yet? No, I haven't done that yet. Oh, well, then you might get to it. You might not. It depends. It's all about how you play your game as to what you run into in games like this, where it is just wide open for you to explore and discover on your own. There's been reports of people playing for hours and hours and hours on end before starting the main story or making any progress within the main story of the game, just because there's so much out there for you to do and explore and experience. Unfortunately for me, I never made it out of the dungeon, which is not very open world. I could not get my handle on things. I just couldn't. It was my first RPG, I guess you could say. Outside of... God, would that have been pre-City of Heroes? It would have. I think that would have been pre-City of Heroes. Come on, City of Heroes.
Yeah. Late April of 2004.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with City of Heroes, that came naturally to me, obviously, because they put that in there, but I just could not grasp the concept of what Oblivion was trying to do. Obviously, I've changed since then. I'm sort of interested in it now. Now, after reading about the performance issues, I'm sort of like, whatever, I may or may not get into it. Hopefully they'll patch it. It's Bethesda, man. We've been here before.
Yeah.
You'd think we would not have to go through this again with a remaster. They would see like, oh, here's problems, let's fix those, but they run into more problems with it. Starfield had the same situation. Fallout has had the same situation where they release it, it's janky, it gets patched and fixed later.
Yep.
You just got to deal with the jank in the beginning.
What I've always said about Bethesda, part of its charm is having all these buggy messes at release.
I know. I just hate to see a remaster get like, oh, it's still buggy. By the way, they gave the entire team of the independent project who were doing Oblivion remaster, Sky Oblivion is what they were doing. The Bethesda gave each of those people who were working in that a free key for this game, for the remaster that Bethesda had done, just as a like, here you go, you guys can have this to play. We know you've been working on this other thing since 2012. So, yeah. Anyway, I don't know. Might get there, might not. There's so much to play. There is so much to play beyond what I'm currently playing right now. But it has been very good for them with the Elder Scrolls, the Oblivion remaster release. So, and apparently it's Steam Deck verified too.
Okay.
Now, I say that, and I have no idea how it runs on the Steam Deck, but on a modern PC that they were talking about with Digital Foundry, it's pretty ugh. But I don't know how it works out on the Steam Deck, but it is Steam Deck approved. In case you want to play it on the go. We got a release date for Ghosts of Yoti. Yoti, right?
Yotei.
Yotei. Thank you. I mean, I got to keep the tradition alive, don't I? So we're getting an October 2nd release for the sequel to Ghosts of Tsushima.
Good job.
Yeah, I know. Now, this is a Sony release, so it's only going to be released on the PlayStation 5. It'll eventually get a release on PC at some point, usually, because that's what they do. But the big thing here is that this is a big release for Sony for their system. They're basically putting themselves out there and hoping GTA 6 doesn't get announced anywhere near that area.
Big roll of the dice on this one.
It is a big roll of the dice. It says this article here from Polygon says it's the first tentative toe dip into the fall release window by a game industry that has been running scared of Rockstar's behemoth, known as GTA 6. It has been confirmed for a fall release by Take-Two Interactive, and other publishers are reportedly considering delaying their games to get out of its way. Fall 2026 is, who knows? We've heard this before. We've been here before where people are like, oh, it's coming in winter. And on the last day of winter is when they get the release. They get it in there right before the end of winter or something like that. So when you say fall...
Yeah, they didn't lie.
Yeah. So. When you say a fall release, it's anywhere from late September to late December. Anywhere in there it could release. And if it's GTA 6, it doesn't matter. Anywhere in there could be their release date, and they don't care. Does it get in before the Thanksgiving holiday? Doesn't matter. It's going to sell massively regardless of where they plop it down. You know?
Yep.
It just does. It's GTA 6. You call your shot, man. It doesn't matter. It's going to do amazing. One publishing executive told another outlet that a late October or early November release date for GTA 6 was their greatest fear. We don't want to launch just before or just after the game. And if it arrives in late October, that means you either have to launch early, which a lot of people seem to be doing with a recent glut of summer release dates, or go later, putting you up against Black Friday sales. No, if it's in it, if the game comes out in late October, you need to skip Black Friday and put you in December, or move it into the first of the next year, because you will not survive the onslaught of articles. You will not survive the zeitgeist of communication that will be around that release, regardless of what you are, who you are. It's kind of one of those situations where when Star Wars was getting released, the new Phantom Menace and all of those three, the whatever that's called, the prequel films.
Yeah.
When those were getting released, you'd kind of look and see what else is coming out, and it would be something you either hadn't heard of or that you had no interest in. But they had to offer that because there's going to be people who have no interest in Star Wars to go to that movie. So in this situation, you're going to have GTA 6 get a release date, and you will have other games that release around that time because ain't everybody interested in that. So it's one of those situations where you kind of roll the dice again and say, there's going to be people who don't want this game. So if that's my crowd, this is where I need to release that. You'll get the press from being the one game going up against GTA 6, and you might get some players as well, depending on what it is, and I really don't know what it's going to be. Ghosts of Yotei will be, I think, will share that audience with GTA 6. In other words, you're not pulling in people who aren't interested in GTA 6. They are. The people playing your game are also interested in GTA 6. So, I don't know. I don't know what you do on that. But you do something. So, you put it out there. We've got Borderlands 4 and Marathon getting released on September 23rd. Then almost the next week or 2 weeks after that, they've got the next Ghost of Tsushima sequel that they're going to release as well. So, good luck to you. I'm very curious as to when we're going to get a date on GTA 6. Or when we're going to get an announcement of a delay. Of like, hey, it ain't going to be this year. Sorry.
Yeah.
You know. We don't have any idea of a new trailer. They've released one trailer for that game. And they don't have to. They don't have to release another one, really. That's it. You could release the game now and you're going to be fine. But yeah, you're just not going to survive the conversation that's going to be going on if you're, I don't know how many weeks. We talked about this before we came on the air where Horizon Forbidden West or Zero Dawn or the sequel.
Yeah, Forbidden West came out like a week before.
Lasted a week, maybe, just a week before Elden Ring hit and was buried.
Yeah.
I mean, people know about it, but it did not get its due.
You barely heard about it after it
didn't get its time to shine.
Yeah.
So you've got to be careful with that, especially with GTA. Elden Ring was big enough to kind of exemplify that, but GTA 6 will take that and multiply it by like 1,000 because that's what's going to happen. Your game is going to get buried.
Yeah, and potentially the same situation. You got a AAA title. Sony, I mean, the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, which did amazingly well. So you got a tough act to follow. So you put a lot of effort in this game, and you're going to run up against that. Really?
I really, depending on when it,
if it does come out,
I feel like they move it up or they push it back, depending on where it lands.
Yeah,
you know.
The heck, at this point, I think we said before, we expect AAA titles to be delayed.
Yeah. If it's October, so Ghost is October 2nd. If GTA 6 is the last week of October or any time in November, I think you're okay for Ghost. Just for the fact that I think you're fine. We talked about this. You're not... If you release in October, something in November is going to knock you out. It doesn't matter. It always happens because November is usually the date for Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed. Your big stuff gets released around November, late October, something like that. So regardless of when you release, your game is going to get overshadowed by something in November. It's just going to happen. Whether it's GTA 6 or not, it's going to be something. But so I think October 2nd, that gives you a good 3 weeks of sales, of people picking things up, whatever. Then again, depending on the price of GTA 6, we've heard.
Yeah.
If we get a date for GTA 6 and we get a price,
triple digits,
even releasing a month ahead may not be good enough because people will look at that and say, I got to save my money for GTA 6. It's like $100 or whatever the game cost might be.
Yeah.
It's like, this is how much this game costs, and I kind of got to save my money. So, yeah, regardless of quality, regardless of title, regardless of anything of that, you're talking pocketbooks, you're talking money.
Yeah.
So, where do you land on that one,
Yeah. Which one are you going to pay full price for?
Right, and we don't have a price on GTA 6. Obviously, they could name their price, for that. It's one of the only games they could. But we see
some titles can get away with that. Some others definitely can't.
It's about the only one I could say where you could be, whatever you name it, you're going to be fine. You'll have people complain, but you also have people still buy it.
Yeah, they'll still pick it up. Yeah.
Call of Duty, I think, was like that for a while. I don't think it's that anymore. But I think Call of Duty at a point could have been sold for much higher than other games.
I mean, yeah, they've had some audacious bundles for Call of Duty in the past.
Yes, they have. But I don't think Call of Duty is that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It does do the numbers, but I just don't think it does the numbers like Prime Call of Duty used to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But GTA 6 is just it doesn't matter what they.
And it's not even a limited edition. Yeah, I was just thinking we've paid extra for limited editions or collector's editions and things like that, but a limited edition price for a standard version, possibly.
That's what you're looking at. And then imagine what the collector's edition prices on these are going to be.
$5.
Right. Like, imagine what it's going to be for if they do that. Did GTA ever do that?
I can't recall them doing a limited.
I don't think they have.
I don't think they did. Maybe like a bundle, but that's like standard nowadays. But a limited collector's edition version of
when you get little trinkets and things like that. I don't think they've done that.
They did that. No,
I don't. They probably felt like
done with any of them, like a Red Dead. Red Dead Redemption did. I don't think
Red Dead had one.
Red Dead had one. Okay,
they had a collector's edition because it came with a steel book and a map. Inside the thing. So, they had Red Dead 2, put it that way. I don't want to say Red Dead, but Red Dead 2 had one.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So there is precedent of where they've done that before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it did cost like $70 or $60 or whatever. I don't remember what the price was, but I have that at the house. So it was a really nice red steelbook. It was really pretty.
Nice.
Yes. Nice. It was red. It was kind of like the back of a card. Playing card, it was really nice. Had had the designs on it and stuff. So it was a really nice steelbook.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we're at with GTA 6, and just kind of wondering what's going to go on with that. It's interesting to see. I'm curious as to when we're going to get a date. When that'll come with a trailer, I'm sure.
Date and a price,
but more than likely it'll get leaked before we know.
Yeah,
it'll be something like that. But that's a big one. That's the next big one to look out for. So. We are coming up on the top of the hour here, but when we come back, we're going to go into the Switch 2 pre-order situation. Switch 2 pre-orders happen at 11 p.m. our time on Wednesday evening. At 11 p.m. our time, because it was midnight Eastern, and so 11 p.m. our time is when pre-orders went live for the Switch 2, and that was Wednesday night. Going into Thursday. I will tell you about my experience. We will talk about the madness of everything that was going on when a new console does pre-orders like this, and we'll talk about the price, what it all means. We'll go over all of that. That is coming up in the next segment of In-Game Chat. Right now, though, we're going to go to a break. And speaking of the devil, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, released back in October of 2024. I don't exactly remember the date, but it was in October 2024, and we have got music from Black Ops 6 right now for you. Call of Duty Black Ops 6. We'll be back with more of In-Game Chat right after this. welcome back into in-game chat. That is music from a game called Blazing Strike. It's the main theme for it. I don't think it's a fighter. It's got fighter music, though, doesn't it?
Sounds like it.
You know what? I think it is a fighter. I absolutely think it is a fighter, Blazing Strike. Because I think when I was looking up tracks, there was a lot of character themes.
Yeah, it's a fighter.
Yeah, it's a fighter. That's what I thought. Anyway, welcome back to the show. So, let me go to the chat room. Did any of you, Thar, I don't know if you did, or AC, well, you know what? You got, I think AC Wraith is, I'm going to screw this up. You're in Canada, right? Like, did you, I don't know, did you pre-order a Switch 2, or how did it go for pre-ordering a Switch 2 in Canada? That's kind of, I'm curious. I didn't hear about any complaints, but at the same time, I have no idea. A lot of the threads I was watching and everything else were mostly everybody here in the States. I didn't really read about how it went for Canada or anybody else. Yeah, you're in New York State. I don't know why I keep thinking you're in Canada. Maybe, no, I don't know. Thar? I don't know where you are. Or actually, I probably do know where you are, but I've forgotten where you are. But I got in a Switch 2 pre-order. I was able to get one through Walmart, of all things. So I didn't set an alarm. I just said, if I wake up in the middle of the night, check the time. If it's like 1 a.m. or 2, I'll probably just go to the bathroom like I do and then go back to sleep. I don't think there's any point in trying to do this. But if for whatever reason I wake up and it's close to when it launched, then let's go see how it goes. So I remember the exact time I woke up, 11:36. Pre-orders went live at 11 for most places. Best Buy was delayed in getting their pre-order page up or getting everything set to go. But I had left my browser up on Best Buy's screen for the Switch 2, and all I had to do was go in there, refresh, and do what I need to do to start getting in line to get it. So I did that, put myself in a queue, hit the button, and it's like, hey, you're in line for this product. Okay, how long am I going to wait here? So anyway, I was sitting there waiting, and I go and I look at Wario's Twitter feed of what's going on and how things are, and I see links to Target and Walmart, and I clicked on the Target link, and I found the console, and I went to add it to cart, but when I went to check out, so that's the thing. They would let you add it to your cart. But when you went to check out, it would say there's a problem with your cart because you couldn't, it was out of stock.
Yeah.
Like, don't let me add it. Don't give me
hope.
Yeah. Don't let me go through this process and then at the end tell me, well, we don't have any of that. I don't know why you put it in your cart. There's none to offer. Don't let me do that. Save me the step.
Yeah.
So I tried Target. That didn't work. And so then I hit up some video game forums looking at their, watching them go through it. And there were people who were like, man, if you're in line for Best Buy, hang on. I just got my pre-order in. And I'm like, all right, I'll hang on. And then there were people like, hey, here's Walmart. Go to Walmart. So I went to Walmart and I put theirs in. I got in line for that. The interesting thing, I was going after the bundle that comes with Mario Kart World. The base system, I don't remember ever trying the base system on Best Buy, but I did open up another tab on Walmart, go, and I selected the base system, just the system itself. It took me straight to the order page. I could add it to cart, and I was like, oh my God, I can check out if I want to or not. I don't know. I really want that bundle, but this might work.
Yeah.
I didn't know how far I wanted to go with it because I thought, if I purchase this, will I be out of a chance to buy the bundle? Will it realize that, hey, you've already bought this, you can't, we're only allowing one per whatever. I didn't know what the case may be.
Yeah.
Then people in the forum started posting direct links to the console pages, and I clicked on one of them, and it came up for the bundle page. It came up just like the base page did, where it's like, you can add it to your cart right now and check out. And I was like, oh, God. So I went ahead and did that. I went ahead, went through the checkout, and then I kind of waited like, maybe I'm going to get a thing like, your order didn't go through, your card was declined, or some kind of situation that is like, that's too good to be true, it's not going to happen.
Right.
Never came. Walmart sent confirmation orders. Everything else came through with confirmation, and I was like, I feel pretty good about this then. I stayed there for just a little while longer to see what my Best Buy stuff would do. It never moved out of the queue, the line to get it, and so I just closed the page and I went back to bed. I was up less than an hour. I was up at 11:36. I was back in bed by like 12:24. You know, so done. I've had, and I said, I had already said if I can get one, I can. If I can't, no big deal.
Yeah, whatever happens, happens.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I went to bed thinking, if I wake up and there's a cancellation email, oh well.
Yeah.
No big deal. I didn't lose. I lost less than an hour of sleep over it. I'll be fine. That never came. And I now have a pre-order for the bundle their system for Switch 2. What I have is time to think if I want to keep it or not. Currently, I'm leaning towards no. I think about it. I think about how much I play my Switch now. I think about the fact that I'll only have one game to play with, and that's Mario Kart World. It's a great game, but I think about that, and I'm like,
and if you're like me, you're not letting one game get you a console.
Yeah,
you want more than one title.
It's just, it's sort of a, I'm not sure I'm really unsure if I'm gonna keep this thing. Obviously things can change between now and the day you pick it up, in a sense that you might have a better idea of like, this is the best price I'm going to get this thing. Regardless of what other games may come out, the price is only going to go up. And this might, it's one of those things of like, do you want the Switch 2 now, or do you want the Switch 2 like 2 years from now or 3 years from now, whenever it's back to either this price or it's on sale for less? Not much less, probably $50 less, but less.
It is Nintendo. Remember that.
Yeah, I know exactly. And unlikely you're getting the bundle package with their games running for $80. Their first party titles running,
which is why everyone's trying to get that bundle anyway, so they don't have to pay the $80.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's one of those situations where I don't know, but I got a pre-order, and so I'm fine with that. I'm good with that right now. I've got one.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that pans out. Let me go by the chat room and see. Bama Brian says, what was GameStop like the other day? I think most of the cancellations were from Target and Best Buy. Yeah, there were a few people who got canceled out of Walmart, but not many. In fact, some informal polling showed that most people got their pre-orders in through Walmart or Best Buy. More than anything else, Walmart and Best Buy were the ones where people got their pre-orders in through. Now, that did not include GameStop, because GameStop did not go live with their pre-orders online or in store until the next morning. When stores opened at whatever time they opened in your local area, that's exactly when you could pre-order in-store or online. The online aspect of the pre-ordering process for GameStop was horrible, from what I read. The in-store... Here's the odd part. It's 2025. And the best way to secure your pre-order was physically showing up to a store. There were reports of plenty of units available, plenty of stock available for people in line, depending on where you were. So that next morning, Thursday morning, I'm on the air here, and... before I went into my segment, I was like, hey, before I do this is kind of off topic real quick, but if anybody wants to take a drive over to the GameStop in Prattville, where I live, give me a head count of people in line. If you could, let me know how many people are out there. I didn't ask for the Montgomery locations because I think there's, one or two different locations maybe. I don't know how many. I don't know. How many are in Montgomery? Two?
I think two, because the one on Atlanta Highway I know shut down.
Is it Ann Street still got theirs?
I think it's Ann Street and East Chase.
East Chase is still there.
East Chase is still there.
And I guess Ann Street would be the other one. I guess
Ann Street would be the other one, yeah.
So I didn't get any head counts or anything like that for those, but I did get a couple of people call in and tell me that we see 4 people in line at your Prattville. This was at 7:30 that morning. There were 4 people in line. I even got a guy, was your name Josh or Jason? I can't remember your name, and I'm going to look now because I want to get it right. Josh. Yeah, Josh sent me a picture of the 4 people in their lawn chairs or whatever that is. They had their chairs set up there in line, 4 people in line waiting for the Switch 2. The thing about the GameStops is they had pictures. I said they had pictures. They had posts up on the front door telling you, we have this many units of the bundle and we have this many units of the base system. So you could get there, look at the line, look at what's coming in, and be like, oh, I'll get in line. Or, they're going to run out, whatever the case may be.
I just searched locations of GameStop, and within 50 miles of a zip code, there's only 2 stores, East Chase and Premier Place.
Really? So it's just East Chase and Prattville?
East Chase and Prattville.
So it's just, wow.
Goodness, I didn't know Ann Street.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Goodness.
I'm kind of curious what the allotment was in Prattville and here in Montgomery.
Yeah,
because
that's the thing about GameStop, in my experience anyway, with pre-orders. They're only going to get what they pre-order. They're not going to have extra for sale.
Well, I had heard rumor that this was just the first wave. There would be another wave of pre-orders to come.
Yeah,
I had heard a rumor about that. There is no confirmation on that. I don't know if that's the case. If we're going to get a second wave of pre-orders, we do have the Nintendo Store, which is an online thing where you can order from Nintendo Direct. Those start like May 8th. But you'll get an email, if you've registered, you'll get an email from Nintendo saying like, hey, you've been selected, be here at this time on whatever date to put your order in. Go to this link and put your order in at this time on this date, and you can get in on that. But that's in May, which, isn't very far away. But I meant to Thursday afternoon before I left here. Some of you know, some of you don't. We're doing renovations in this building, and so Thursday was the day that they were going to do renovations for this studio in here and the connecting studio that is basically my office. So I had to arrange stuff in my office so that they could get in there and do what they had to do. And doing all of that just wore me out. And on my way home, I was like, I missed the turn. And afterwards, I was like, I meant to go over to GameStop and see at like 3 p.m. if they still had product available or how it went. And I never did. I just went home.
Yeah.
So completely missed that. But I really wanted to check in on it and see how that went. But yeah, I was okay to get a pre-order. I got that in. However, this article from Polygon said, shocking no one, least of all this author who recalls the process of getting a PlayStation 5, the rush to get a Switch 2 into a virtual shopping cart was chaotic and ended in sadness for many participants. Pre-orders for U.S. residents went live at midnight Eastern for Walmart, Best Buy, and Target. But completing of the transaction was another story. Of course, it wasn't all tears. Multiple staffers managed to secure Switch 2 last night, but doing so required a whole lot of luck, as well as patience and the willingness to be awake in the middle of the night. That was not the case. By the way, that morning, Thursday morning, Best Buy showed is sold out. You couldn't do it. Walmart, however, was still letting me pre-order. This was regional because, again, I went to some of these forums and I said, Walmart seems to let me pre-order. And the responses were, yeah, it's based on your region, So if I went there without being logged in, it would say check availability. And by doing so, you'd have to log in order to do that. But for a while, Montgomery and Prattville residents, you could still order the Switch 2 through Walmart's website the next morning. Both the base and the bundle system. In fact, there's a friend of the show's, friend of the station's, really one of our sponsors, who I found out is a gamer. He's a big gamer and he likes Nintendo, and he especially likes his retro stuff too. And so I sent him a message. First off, he had just announced that he's going to be having another baby girl in October, I guess, or this fall. And I was like, hey, man, congratulations on the girl. Now, what I really want to know, did you get your pre-order in? And he said, no, I'm going to GameStop here a little while, And I said, "Oh, best of luck to you, man." And then I checked Walmart, and I sent him that link, and I said, "You can do this right now. You can skip that." He did it, went through, and he's like, "Hey, I got my pre-order in." So I was glad to have helped him out. So that was good. It was easy for us, but apparently there were a lot of people who had problems. West Coasters staying up late was part of the deal. Pre-orders went live at a far more reasonable time on the Pacific with 9 p.m. for them. But there was a lot of waiting in a digital queue and waiting with only some members of that queue ending up being able to put a Switch 2 in their cart. Even then, once you got to that and had to get to payment, there was a lot of something went wrong, try again type stuff. Dude, I can't stand it. I hate it, dude. I hate it. What else do we have? Social media had tons of jokes for it as well. There were people who managed to secure a Switch 2 only to have their order canceled after the fact, either by the store or by their bank. So you have to be careful with that. Because you're making a $450, $500 purchase in the middle of the night.
That's not suspicious at all.
Banks are like, what? Wait, what are you doing? No, that ain't you. It's like, look, it is. That's another thing to do. It's not something I thought of, and I'll never think of, and I won't think of it again until after the fact. But one of the things you do before you go out of the country, or at least you used to do this, was call your bank, your cell phone, your phone company, and your bank, and say, look, I'm going to be visiting whatever country for the next 2 weeks. You're going to see charges from there. You know, you kind of give them a heads up. Same thing with this. If you see that you're going to be doing something like this, spending that kind of money in the middle of the night, you should probably call your bank ahead of time or your card company ahead of time and be like, please don't deny these charges that you may see over the next couple of days. You know, might be something to think about. I never really gave it consideration until just now. But yeah, it was a headache for some. But it went fine for me. Now, Nintendo has issued a statement. First off, they issued an apology before pre-orders ever went live saying, not everybody going to get one. And we're sorry for that. But they updated its website about pre-ordering a Switch 2 console with a warning that because of very high demand, it can't promise that it will be able to deliver consoles by the June 5th launch date. It even warned that pre-order emails might not arrive for some until after the console's launch. So, even though you might have gotten a pre-order in, it doesn't necessarily mean you'll get it on that day.
It's not guaranteed.
Yeah. Everything about the Walmart pre-order said, arriving by June 5th, arriving by 9 a.m. June 5th, which is the day the thing launches. This is not I'm going to go to the store and pick it up. It's going to be delivered to your house from there. That was with the Walmart order. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Again, I don't know that I'm keeping mine. I don't know. It's one of those situations where I know that they're not going to have anything that's going to sway me game release wise between now and release date. They've shown their hand in that regard. There's nothing there that is like, oh, whoa, there's your killer app, or there's the thing I need, or anything like that. That's not coming. A announcement of a price increase on the console after this initial batch, that's a swaying point. Where it's like, oh, good, I'm getting a deal here. I should probably keep it, you know? That's about it. That's about the only way I may keep this is if they announce, here's what the price is going to be for the next batch of shipments. You know? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Got plenty of time to figure it out. Got a little over a month to make the choice. And then we'll see how that goes. If I were to make a list, and I still may, you know how you do with pros and cons and things like that?
Yeah.
There ain't a lot on that pro list, you know? There's a whole lot of cons of given how much I play my Switch right now. How many games are available for the system, you know? how fast will I burn through Mario Kart where it's like, all right, I'm really done with this. How long is the gimmick going to hold? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not like it's avowed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I know. It's just not there. And nothing else that they've really announced seems to be there as well. The only difference would be if they say, look, here's what the price is going to be after this. And until tariffs change or whatever the situation may change with the global economy type thing, it's not going to come back down from that. And then it's like, ooh, I'm getting it at a bargain right now. So there's that. We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's basically it. It's a wait-and-see method. Thar6 says GameStop here had 5 pre-orders left yesterday, but that's in Canada, at $850, tax included.
Man.
Uh-huh. $850.
Build you a PC.
Huh?
Build you a PC.
Yeah, well, buy a Steam Deck.
That too.
I don't know. Well, if it's $850 for that, you've got Steam Decks are probably around that same price though. Depending on the size of the hard drive size that you pick.
Drive, yeah.
Or the OLED version or something like that. I'm really not sure. Yeah, he says that's the Mario bundle. The $850 tax included is the Mario bundle. So, yeah, we'll see. But yeah, the fact that they had 5 pre-orders left yesterday, and that's pretty good. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a wait and see thing. We'll see how it goes. So, all right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap up with more news here. We had some news from a couple of weeks ago that I never really jumped into. Talk about the summer showcase for Xbox, another Sunday thing that they're doing for basically the E3 stuff. There's that Crew lawsuit from Ubisoft where they tell us that we don't own the games that we buy.
Yeah, that went over well.
I know. So, yeah, there's that. There was the III showcase, which was a week or 2 weeks ago that had like 36 games shown off, and we never covered any of that. So there's plenty to talk about when we come back, and we will dive into it when we do. Got music here from a game. I think I've got it on my wish list, but if not, I'm going to put it on my wish list. I played a demo of it back during Steam Next Fest, whenever it was. And I enjoyed it. I played it longer than most of the other demos, that I had a chance to play. And it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutants Unleashed. It's kind of a roguelike type thing. You keep going and going and going, powering up until, you eventually die as you keep going through the stuff. I really, really enjoyed it. And when that hits a good sale price, I'll likely pick it up. I don't know what that sale price is going to be just yet. You know what? Let me check. Hang on. I have GG.deals pulled up right now. TMNT. Would that work? Do they recognize TMNT as a Team Ninja Turtles? Wait, is it Splintered Fate? I may have my Ninja Turtle stuff confused. Mutants Unleashed.
On Steam?
Yeah, I think so. There's Mutants Unleashed. It's running $40.
Yeah.
I'm not picking that up.
Mixed reviews. Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Is this, well, maybe I'm thinking of the wrong one. Let me go to Steam's page. Maybe this is not the one that I'm thinking of. Show me some gameplay. No. That is not the one I'm thinking of. So it must be... Let me go back to the other one now. Maybe it's Splintered Fate. Show me those screens. I know this is fantastic radio to listen to at the moment. No, not Epic Games Store. Send me to Steam. I'm so...
$30. That's very positive in terms of recent reviews. The one that came out in November.
That's the
November
one.
2024.
It's Splintered Fate. I'm looking at the screenshots now. That's the one.
Okay.
Splintered Fate is the one that I need to look at. So yeah.
Yeah, and right now that's $30 on Steam.
Yep. It's $30 on Steam, but it's been down to $15. 3 weeks ago it was $15.
Good.
Yeah. So I'll have to add that to my wish list there and wait for that to drop. But yeah, that's the one that I was talking about. So this thing is nothing to do with it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutants Unleashed. We'll be back with more of In-Game Chat right after this. Welcome back to In-Game Chat. It's our bi-weekly edition of Music from Astrobot. It's called You Know What You've Got to Do. There's a boss fight against this three-headed bird thing at the top of this tree. It was really cool. And the music's just fantastic. The music for this game is absolutely fantastic. This thing has won Game of the Year for a reason, and the music for the Game of the Year, it's just, everything about it is just perfect. Really, really is a good game. Great, great game, Astrobot. If you get a PlayStation 5, it is a game you need to put on your list. If you like platformers, then, this thing just offers everything in spades. If you've been it's a love letter to some of the best PlayStation games that have been released. They cover Last of Us. They cover Uncharted. They cover God of War. They cover Horizon. I think they cover... It's another one that they do. There was old stuff in there too that I'm
Little Big Planet.
No, not Little Big Planet. Oddly enough, they do have one of the bots has Little Big Planet. It's a Little Big Planet bot that you rescue, but none of the levels reference Little Big Planet. It wasn't Patapon. What was the one with the?
I was thinking Pikmin, but that's Nintendo.
Yeah, that's Nintendo. There was another Sony, Katamari, I think, is in there.
Katamari Damacy?
Yeah, that's referenced in one. The Shadow of the Colossus is referenced. All of the Ico and Last Guardian are in there for different things. But certain levels were built out of certain things. Ape Escape was another one. And, man, there was an old PlayStation Vita game where you had to tilt, or maybe it was PSP actually. You had to tilt the console to get these little things to roll down the hill and move them, and they could combine, and then you could press a button to where they could split up so you could get through smaller areas. And I can't remember the name of the thing, but boy, somebody will tell me what it was.
Reminds me of Marble Madness.
Yeah.
Or updated version of that game, because that was a bunch of tilting the board, making the ball go where you needed it to.
Yeah, I don't remember. Gosh, it's really, I'm racking my brain trying to figure it out. But yeah, so anyway, great game. Really, really good game. If you want to get it. Bama Brian says, Scott, have you watched Last of Us Season 2? The most recent episode was ooh-wee. Yeah, it was, wasn't it? They did the thing that they did in the game as well. I would say, I feel, so, listen, the game version of that, and I will tell you this every single time, if there are direct sort of, I don't even want to say homages because it's not, but if there are direct comparisons to the game is always going to win out. And I will tell you that because you're way more invested in the game than you are in the series. Yes, the television series is fantastic. It's done very well, and they've got to figure out ways to connect you like they did in the game. And it was interesting in the way that they connected you in the series for what they were doing. Yes, that part in the show, you get into the game pretty early on, but by that point, you have been playing as these different characters, because it jumps back and forth as to who you're playing as in the game. So you're making these connections because you're playing as these people. You're having these moments as yourself, even though you are playing that other character. You are the one that pressed the button to initiate a conversation between you and this other person. You're the one that experienced that conversation or made the decision to go left instead of right. You're the character that it's you. You're driving it. Mm-hmm. So when it gets to that moment, it's all the more worse because you've brought yourself here. Mm-hmm. In the show, you're just going along with what they have written for you. And I mean, they're doing that in the game too. You eventually have to get to that point. There's no way that you can get past that point without it happening. But because you have been through what you've been through so far, that connection is strong. Or stronger than it is in the television series. Or the movie, regardless. When you're comparing these things. You're playing as this character, so that connection is a little more stronger than it is outside of that. Needless to say, it still fits. It still works. The way I felt about it in the video game is the same way I felt about it watching it this past weekend. And so I won't say what it is because, well, yeah, we'd be spoiling something that happened in a game years and years and years ago. The series just released, and I don't want to talk about that because some of these people, like Bama Brian, I don't know that he knew that was there. Or maybe he did and forgot and, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I was about to say it was the incident that...
and I don't want to spoil it.
It was the incident that...
it's a big... Yes.
Yeah, it's the one that leaked that tainted people's decision to purchase or pick up the game because
which may do the same thing here. Yeah. A lot of people were wondering, like,
I was thinking,
am I going to continue watching this now that you've done this? I don't know that I am. You know?
Because if you're familiar with the game, you know what's coming, right? Mm-hmm. So when it came up, it's like either a harsh reminder, or whatnot, but the people who don't know about it, who saw it coming, they're going to get that initial shock value. Because something like this happening at this point.
I know. This was for the series, it's episode 2. For us, it's like 45 minutes into the game, maybe 30 minutes. I don't know how. I don't know how far. It's pretty quick into the game when it happens.
Yeah. So early in the season, this happens. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do from here?
Yeah.
That type of thing. But
we'll see how it holds out. We'll see how it goes from here.
Most likely the format that the game did anyway, like they're doing now.
Yeah, I'm curious
all
about
over
that.
The place, all over the place with the.
I swear, I still don't think they're going to be able to fit the whole thing in. They're going to have to cut it if they're trying to fit the entire sequel, the entire part 2 into this season 2.
Because a lot happened.
They're going to leave out a bunch.
Oh yeah. A lot happened.
Which is fine. If they can find a way to still get to where they need to get to and tell a different story than what the game did to get me there, I'm fine with that. I'm always fine with that. I played the game. I don't need to relive it in a TV series. Give me something different if you want to. Go a different route if you'd like to. However, you have to still hit the high points. You know what I mean? These certain beats still have to be hit on the drum. You know what I'm saying? And the one that happened this past episode has to be hit. You know, that has to happen in order for everything else to take place.
Yeah. Because if that didn't happen, nothing else is going to make sense after. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
are you thinking about what they're going to have to cut out? Because you've played the game, so
right. And I'm sorry for my silence because I actually was thinking about certain things, and I'm trying to also think about how I can bring these up without spoiling anything for those who are just watching the series, and I really don't want to do that. We talked about this last episode where Joel's guilt is his lie to Ellie. In the game, that lie eventually gets exposed. It's harder for me to figure out in the series if we're going to get that lie exposed or not. I mean, we will, but in the game, it was exposed between the two characters, Ellie figured it out from Joel. She was able to put that two and two together over time, and was able to figure out that he's completely lying to me. But I don't know if the series is going to get to that point. And I'm not really spoiling anything here, not to Bama Brian, because I know he's seen this past episode. So I know he knows what the big thing is. But in the game, that lie was exposed to her, and I'm curious if that lie is going to get exposed to her here. The way they set up episode 1 and now episode 2, I'm not so sure that they will, but it's hard for me to remember. IGN has been doing a great episode-by-episode comparison of here's the game version, here's the TV version, you know?
Yeah.
They've been going back and forth with that. And watching the one for this past episode, I had kind of forgotten about everybody else who was in the room when that was going on. For the series, they changed who was in the room as that was going on. And I'll tell you about that off the air because I don't want to spoil anything for you. But they changed it. And watching this IGN thing, I completely forgot. Oh, wait. That's different than what they did. I don't necessarily know that it changes anything, but that's different.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. I know they've renewed it for season 3 already, but I kind of feel like they'll split the sequel video game into 2 seasons of television. It's big enough that they could do it, which is why I keep saying I don't know how they're going to fit it all in to just 8 episodes, I think. I don't know how they're going to.
That's a typical season length for
8 to 10, yeah.
8 to 10, okay.
Yeah. And I just don't know how they're going to fit it all in there. Right, yeah. Bama Brian says they were supposed to have a chat on the porch, but they didn't do that in the show. I know they didn't. And so I'm curious. That's why I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how they're gonna do that. So we'll see. We'll have to wait and see, which is a lot of what I say on the show. Is like we just got to wait and see. Now we got 10 minutes until the end of the show, and I haven't gone into other stuff. Let's talk about the Xbox Summer Showcase because we're getting closer to that. It is happening on June 8th. I don't know that we got a time. I'm looking here real quick to see if we do. 1 p.m. 1 p.m. Eastern, so noon our time on June 8th. That's a Sunday.
Okay. I was just about to say, was going to be in the middle of the week thing?
No, it's a Sunday afternoon at noon our time. It'll be probably an hour and a half of game announcements and game reveals, and then afterwards, I think there's a showcase for Outer Worlds 2, kind of like they did with Starfield last time, or Indiana Jones, or whatever it was this past year. There'll be one for Outer Worlds 2 on that one. So that's all we know. We haven't gotten word on anything else like Summer Games Fest or Sony doing anything or Ubisoft doing anything. We haven't gotten any word on that. I would be surprised if Ubisoft does anything.
Yeah, they're kind of busy right now.
Given the way things have been going for that company, I don't know. I'd be surprised if they do anything. Like, they'll just let the other shows show off their games, kind of like they've done it in the past, where you'd get those reveals at some of the other shows, and then at Ubisoft you'd get more gameplay that you didn't get anywhere else. I would say just, if you don't have the library, just let the other places take care of it, Because I don't know. I don't know what they would have that would constitute a big showcase like that. And I also don't know if they have the money to put behind it to do that. With everything that's been going on. Like, Shadows has been good for them, but I don't think it's been good enough for them. But I don't know. We haven't gotten the official numbers or anything like that they've been happy with or something like that. We haven't gotten the press release.
Yeah.
And maybe the lack of a press release is saying more than actually getting a press release is saying. We'll have to wait and see. There's that term again. There is no way I have enough time to go over all 36 games that were shown at the III Spring Indie Showcase. We'll have to leave that alone, but I will say Speedrunners 2 was announced in that group. So I'm kind of interested. I'm kind of, I'm itching to kind of look through the rest of those titles.
Yeah.
So we'll see about that.
I still remember those after show runs.
They were great.
Yeah, it was fun.
I haven't gone into that game in a long time.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of. I know I tried to not long ago. Well, I say not long ago, but it's been a few years where I dipped my toe back in there, and I was horrible at it.
Yeah.
I had gotten really bad.
Forgot how to drop traps and
things
like that.
I did it on the console. I did it on Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah.
I jumped in it there. Took forever to find a multiplayer match going on. You know what I'm saying? Like where I could race against other online. Took forever. And even when I did, the connection was janky. It was not great at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Had to let that one go.
Yeah, I know.
But like I said, it's been years. And it hadn't been talked about much, really, until Speedrunners 2.
Right.
So it'd be a good jumping off.
Which was kind of nice for them to do. I was like, I'm glad you haven't forgotten your roots, because really, that's one of your roots. One of Tiny Build's first releases was that game right there, Speedrunners.
Yep.
And they had done sequels for plenty of other games in their library there, but they hadn't touched on Speedrunners in a long time.
Yep. They
had really focused on that Hello Neighbor that they had done.
Yeah.
That was a massive success for them. So. I think I do have time to hit this one. It was really Sean Layden, who was the former PlayStation boss. He apparently gave an interview. Who was it? It was a recent podcast interview with Save State Plus, whoever they are, but I've given them credit. His quote here says, "To be honest, the company was making some strategic decisions about where they want to take the platform in the future, with a heavy emphasis on games as a service. Games as a service, if you'll recall, would be games like Destiny 2, which is really the only one that's kind of survived that. The other one was the infamous Suicide Squad that failed miserably.
Yep.
But Sean Layden saw that they were moving into that games as a service, live service gaming, subscription formulas, recurring revenue, whatnot, and that was kind of not my wheelhouse. He said, I just make things like God of War and Spider-Man and Last of Us and Uncharted and Horizon. He continued, I didn't have the vision or the energy to try to take it to this new area of live service gaming. So, all that considered, it seemed like a good time to step down after 32 years at Sony. He left them in September of 2019, a little over a year before the launch of the PS5. The PlayStation account tweeted his visionary leadership will be greatly missed. However, it was the move to the games as a service aspect that he was not comfortable with. The move wasn't accompanied by a formal press release and came just 6 months after Jim Ryan, who was promoted to PlayStation CEO role. When asked about the departure in 2021 and whether it was related to internal disagreements, Layden told Bloomberg it simply felt like the right time to put the pin in his legacy. Quote, I think I took my time at the moment I saw best to take it, he said back in 2021, and I couldn't be happier. Since then, players have seen Ryan replaced, as well as a 2024 corporate reshuffle that temporarily saw PlayStation have 2 co-CEOs. They've also seen the live service pivot go nowhere quite quickly. Concord, anyone, Concord was that one. And so I don't need to rehash all of that. But it was interesting to read that was his reasoning for leaving, or at least that's his reasoning now for why he left then. Mm-hmm. But I thought that was interesting to read up on. So, oh, wow. Bama Brian says there's 7 episodes in Season 2 of Last of Us. Even less than what I thought. There is... Nah, man, that's a 2-parter.
Yeah.
That's 2 seasons to tell one story. Mm-hmm. I'm almost positive on that one. But, yeah. So that's going to wrap it up for us. And I believe, we're probably not going to do a show next weekend. Going to take a break from that one. So, Dave, if you're listening, I know you'll probably still send me a text next week being like, you guys live? And I'll say, nope. So, yeah. He sent me a picture of his gaming shelf. Oh, good God, it's a panorama picture. Jeez. Oh, my Lord. He has got a lot of Switch games. Oh, wow. Switch is your primary console, ain't it, buddy? Man, he's got a lot of Switch games. And then there are the Super Nintendo games that he's got up there. Look at all that. That's a nice little gaming shelf. Good on you there. Yeah, good on you there, Dave. But I should ask Dave if he's getting a pre-order for the Switch too. And if you're not, I got one down here if you want. I might transfer over to you. All right, our final song for the evening, it comes from a VR game. And I was kind of happy to see, because I had forgotten about this, but it is a Batman game. The Batman game that came out for the Quest 3 called Batman Arkham Shadow. This track is called It's the Bat. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a good time, and we'll see you then.